Ni hao. That's hello in Singaporean. What do I admire and appreciate about him? Just his loyalty as a friend, his honesty, and his generosity. I know I've been away for a while, but I've missed having him around, or him being around me, and I'll be very sad to see him go. But I'm sure this isn't the end of our friendship. This is, just the start of it. Obviously, it leaves an opening for the role Chief Commissioner of the Bullshit Police. They're big shoes to fill. I don't know who's going to keep Nui in check, but maybe I'll try and take over the reins when I'm back in London for a few months. In terms of advice, just embrace it, give it everything. And if you don't enjoy it, if you're not happy, just come home. There's no disgrace in it. You only regret what you don't do. And I admire you so much for making this jump and for taking on the challenge. So have a great time, and we'll see you soon. Yeah, that was it. One last thing. Do you like spicy food? I think the food is quite spicy.
Sure. Singapore's got some things going for it. I'll admit that. It has got a couple of things going for it. It's a first world country, unlike America, of course. And it's got some redeeming features. But I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot that it hasn't got. And I'm not sure there's anything that you can find in Singapore that you can't find here. In Stratford Centre shopping precinct. It's got all the big brands. It's got everything going for it. You have a diverse collection of people, most of them quite nasty. You've got, look, none of these brands, in fact, you would find in Singapore, would be my guess. Let's be honest, where are you going to buy a sandwich in Singapore, huh? Where are you going to buy a sandwich in Singapore? Here, you've got many options. Not only that, they don't have that in Singapore, do they?
So this is my tribute video to Alex Bailey, who is shortly to move to Singapore, leaving these shores of the British Isles. And when I was thinking about how I'd structure this tribute, I wanted to talk about four different areas. What I appreciate about Alex, what I admire about Alex, share some of the highlights of the adventures we've had, and then hopefully impart some advice as well. So I'll start with my appreciation for Alex and what he offers as an individual. And I guess the first thing I'd say is that when I first met Alex through Ed and Matthew Wardy, obviously he knew them through school, he obviously was a friend of a friend, but I truly regard Alex now as one of my best friends. I think he has transitioned very simply from that, and I think I really appreciate his friendship, and I value that. So that's the first thing I appreciate about him. I think the second thing I appreciate is that whenever I meet up with Alex, I know that Alex will be on his A game. He is consistently a high-performing social individual, and I absolutely love that about him. So that's the second thing I appreciate. If I consider what I admire about Alex, again, there's two things I'll highlight. The first is that he is incredibly modest. He has been a huge success at Disney, and hence that's the reason he's moving to Singapore. And yet you wouldn't know that because he doesn't really talk too much about it. And obviously this is an alien concept for me, but being modest about your achievements when they are so significant and so fantastic is truly, a sign of integrity, and I think it's something I admire about Alex a lot. The second thing is that I think, and I'm going to use the phrase, that I think Alex is a family stalwart. And by that, what I mean is, clearly, with his family, Regan and Lawson, he's a very devoted family man, and a solid, upstanding family man is how I describe him. And I just hope that, obviously I'm currently single, and in the future if I do have my own family, I hope that I can be somewhat like Alex and his behaviour, his role model standing there. So So those are the two things I admire about Alex. If I next focused on the adventures that Alex and I have had and share a couple of highlights of those adventures. Now, there's been many, many adventures that Alex and I have shared. I could go on all day about them, but I'm just going to pick two. And the first one is our trip to Las Vegas in the United States of America. That was one of the best trips I've ever been on in my life. It was absolutely awesome. We absolutely nailed it. We learned that we were men. And we crushed it. Plain and simple. Alex was a core member of the group. We had a great time. We shot guns. We had tequila patrons. We gambled. We did all sorts. It was wonderful. A wonderful, wonderful trip that I'll never forget. The second adventure, which I'm going to touch upon, is probably one of the highlights of my life. And it was when we went to Hong Kong for Alex's stag do. Now, if Regan watches this, clearly we went to museums, art galleries, took in some cultural events. It was a very tame affair, but we got to know each other, we bonded. Obviously, the real story is we had an ultimately pleasure-seeking, hedonistic trip. We were practically nocturnal for the whole course of the trip. 5 nights we were there, but we smashed every single one of those nights. And I'd like to thank Alex for making that happen. I mean, it was Alex's stag do, and he brought together a great collection of individuals, and we had a phenomenal adventure together. I will never, ever, ever forget those two adventures with Alex Vegas in Hong Kong. Finally, I'll talk about some advice that I can hopefully impart to Alex as he's leaving for Singapore. And the first one is, I mean, it's obvious, you know I'm going to say it, it's absolutely smash it. Life is short, you know, you don't get a second chance, so give it absolutely everything. That would be my first piece of advice. My second is kind of related to that, but perhaps it's a little more practical, is to say yes to everything. You know, by trying new things, like you're doing with moving to Singapore, you know, that's how you explore, and that's put yourself outside your comfort zone, say yes to things you normally wouldn't, and you'll have adventures. I'm certain of that, and I look forward to hearing all about them. So in closing, I'll just say, I hope you have a very smooth transition over to Singapore, safe trip out there, etc. I hope you get settled very well. I'm very, very much looking forward to visiting you. I have no doubt we will absolutely smash wherever we end up, be it Singapore or one of the other Southeast Asian cities or beach resorts, whatever. But I'm very much looking forward to it. All the best, Alex. You'll be sorely missed in London. Sorely missed. But I look forward to hanging out with you in Asia.
So, excuse me, can I ask you about Alex Bailey? Do you know Alex Bailey?
Yeah, I know Alex, yeah. What?
He's off to Singapore.
Right.
Did you know that?
No, yeah, no, I did know that, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I can give you an inspirational story about Alex, and is that sort of what you're asking for?
Well, that's fine.
I can't remember when it was, 3 years ago. I was on a beach with Alex, there was a bunch of us. The tide had gone out of the sandy beach. I don't think anyone had ever run as fast on this beach as Alex did that day. It was incredible. We put jumpers down as markers. There was a bunch of us running. I don't know how many of us, maybe 10 teams of us. He was in a team, he was in front of the entire pack, he was leading the pack. He rounded the jumper, his big toe went back further than a big toe should go back. When it dug into the sand, it twisted back, and he was in pain, he grimaced. Everyone knew it, but he kept running, and he kept running, and he kept running. And I don't know whether he won the race that day, that wasn't what the day was about, but he hurt himself and he kept running. And for all of us that weren't as fast as him, that was inspirational. And I will remember, and I'll never forget it, at the end of the day he said, and he looked at all of us, and his toe was in agony. It was a big toe, it's quite a fat toe anyway, and it was even bigger that day. And he said to us, never stop fighting till the fight is done. And I remember thinking, like, who talks like that as a human being, who talks like that isn't in a film? He did.